Education is very important. It's why I'm sitting on this desk right now.
Our education system sucks.
The education system in the United States sucks. Hands down.
Definitely one of the most corrupt and flawed things in the world.
So our government's in debt, like a lot, and they still spend all this money and still can't seem to figure out education.
It's underdeveloped, underfunded.
We are ranked, what was it, 27th in the world for education right now. That's terrible for a country that prides yourselves on being the smartest and the best at essentially everything.
The most important thing about having a, being a person and like having a country and running one is like educating your people.
So education is one of those things that like is the basis to everything else. If everybody had the same, I don't understand it, because like if somebody is like uninformed as me can understand this, I don't know how the government can't figure this shit out, but okay.
It is just incredible that public schools that should be open to everyone can have rankings.
Really glad I went to private school, especially in the neighborhood where I know a lot of the people who went to the public school system, and I know what they're doing with their lives now. I'm really glad I went to private school.
It's all about graduating. It's all about getting out of the system. When I think people should be enjoying their education and not trying to just get a grade.
Well, it's just everybody who works hard should have the same opportunities for success. Everybody should have the same opportunities for success.
You always talk about that one teacher who makes you really excited. Out of how many teachers you've had in your life?
I really think we should try to focus on the quality of our education instead of the quantity of people that are coming out of our colleges and schools.
And when you don't educate your pupil properly, I mean, there's just a whole slew of consequences. Like, what are you setting us up for?
Shoot money into these schools, make them amazing, get the best teachers there are, train teachers, get, pay teachers well so there's incentive to be a teacher, do all of this stuff and just build education from the ground up.
So I think the education system really has to be completely revamped, starting, and that's where I'd rather see my tax dollars go.
Just start with schools. Like, you're providing private airplanes for governors, like fucking get rid of those and like put the money toward our schools, right? Also, property taxes pay for our schools? What idiot thought of that?
Affirmative action. You got like 45 minutes? Affirmative action.
It personally affects me, and I've been asked many times about this, and my basic thing is that as much as you can say bad things about affirmative action, I call it a necessary evil.
I think that there is a stigma that goes along with like, oh, like you got in because of your race, which I think is actually awful, but then you flip it to the reverse argument, and affirmative action isn't just about race.
The number one group that is affected by affirmative action is not minorities, it's women. So people who want to stop affirmative action, outlaw affirmative action, understand the facts, it's women who are helped the most. Like
legacies are a type of affirmative actions. Like a BC, like you have a better chance of getting in if like your father went here or something, and like that's another, I don't know, that's really interesting because like I think that's great in like building community, but like is that necessarily fair if there are two students that are equal?
Because what's the difference between if a black kid lives in this apartment, a white kid lives in this apartment in the projects, and they have the same grades? The black kid's going to have the opportunity to go to college, the white kid isn't. And that's how it works. And that's not fair to either kid who's working just as hard.
They are negatively affected by it because people assume that they are only where they are because of affirmative action.
The only thing that rings a bell is when people use the joke of, I would have definitely gone into my top choice if I was 1% Native American.
The point of universities is to create a diverse environment where people can have the richest experience both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And the best way to do that is to diversify opinions, not only in skin color and sexual preference, but in gender and socioeconomic status, in region of the country. It all creates a culture and an environment where people's opinions get challenged and they get stretched and through that people grow.
In a perfect world, I think affirmative action would not exist. But I think people need to realize that we don't live in a post-racialized America.
Shooting, I think, can be recreational.
To me, it's baffling that people can get their hands on automatic weapons to use for hunting.
I don't like go on fun trips with my like uncle or anything like that to go hunting, so all I know is that. So I feel like I can't fully decide if there should be a control on guns just because I don't know both sides of the story.
I think it's important to know guns and to be safe with them.
But I mean, like, maybe like hunting is the best thing in the world and I'm missing out, so I don't know, maybe I'll go hunting and then decide.
But what I also believe in is extreme background checks on when it comes to guns and guns control and everything.
Buy a gun, should there be a background check on you? Yeah, there should be a background check on you. I shouldn't just be able to walk into a store, get a gun, 3 days later go pick up my gun and walk out. They should know who I am. They should know that I have a gun, what I've done, things like that.
So the only thing that I see about guns is just the violence that happens with it.
I know my state, Virginia, is very open about guns, and sometimes you can bring them in bars, and it's ridiculous, you know.
People argue that you should put guns in classrooms to stop people who come in with guns with your gun. I don't understand how anybody got past kindergarten without understanding that violence with violence just causes more violence.
I don't know about gun control. I don't know. You can't legislate crazy.
It's the saying, guns don't kill people, people kill people. No, guns kill people because people kill people with guns. Without guns, people may still kill people, but it's a hell of a lot harder.
Okay, legalization of marijuana.
It could be the saving source of revenue for this country, really.
I think there's a lot of money in it being legalized, and in the end, that's what it comes down to. It's what it's going to come down to for the government, is deciding if it's monetarily worth legalizing the sale of marijuana.
Like, it's your choice to smoke. It's not like, you know, they're like, everybody has to smoke marijuana now, so.
I'm very against the legalization of marijuana because I think that marijuana, I sound like an old fogey. I think marijuana makes you into a bum.
Out of all the drugs in the world, marijuana is pretty harmless.
There's like millions of people who are in jail for possession of marijuana. Like, what did you do wrong? Like, what did you do wrong?
All the violence within groups of people who try to like bring it over the border and things like that. I feel like if it is legalized, then we cut a lot of that down.
We'll have to look at how weed affects driving, how it affects your motor skills, how it affects you doing anything.
You know, like, there's so many people who are just like sitting in jail, and what do they learn in jail? They learn how to rob people, kill people, and do terrible things to people. You do not need to be in jail if you've got some marijuana. Like,
I have so many friends who just smoke a lot of weed and do a lot of nothing.
Maybe it's a gateway drug? I don't know. I personally haven't gone through the gate, if you will. But I don't know, maybe I'm missing out, dude.
I don't know, like, we're gonna get some huge tax dollars from this, so like, that's awesome. I mean, you know, people are gonna buy marijuana if it's legal, so why not make some taxes off of it, you know? Hike those babies up, and then, yeah. Then we can pay for better schools. Yeah, everybody's gonna be high. Jesus Christ, okay. Okay, welfare.
Another one of those taboo words that is so wrought with myths and stereotypes.
I feel like welfare is a very needed thing in our country because we have a lot of poverty, more than most will admit.
You're giving people a chance to start a new life, which is what I feel like is the goal of welfare, but it gets misconstrued when people abuse the system.
But it's also important to control welfare and to limit it, because I mean there's people who just survive off of welfare with no intention to work to get away from that.
They're caught in a loop of like they're not motivated to go forward, because if they do they have to pay more taxes, and then like their income's not going to be as much, and that just is so ridiculous to me.
That's why we get the representation of the welfare mother, or the ones who refuse to go to work and just utilize the system.
There's some people that take advantage of welfare.
You know, use their paycheck to pay for their new tattoos, but like I love tattoos, but like you need to feed your kids.
If you're not abusing the system and if you're doing it in the right way, I feel that welfare is a really good thing.
I understand there are hardworking Americans out there, and there are hardworking people, and there are people that legitimately just need help, and that's what that's there for, and I don't know if they're getting it because people are abusing the system, and that pisses me off.
I think the good outdoes what the bad will do, the bad people will do with it. I think we need a better system for welfare, but I do think it's a necessary program, and I really don't think we should be getting rid of it or anything.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm all for it. But again, I'm pretty biased.
I think people who consider themselves homophobic are really just assholes, because, is that terrible to say? I do, because I think it is an excuse for being an asshole. You can't be scared of somebody who is different from you. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
There's this funny thing, we're watching this like Polish talk show, and they had like a transgendered woman on there, and my mom just sat down. She's like, you know, I really understand what a transgender person like goes through, and like that feeling of like not being the right in your body and feeling like you weren't born the right way. She's like, I completely understand that. And I was like, you go, Mom, you're being progressive. I'm so proud of you. And then she went, but I don't understand the gays. And I was like, we took 20 steps back. Oh God.
I was raised where gay marriage wasn't even questioned. Why should gay people not get married? I don't see any argument against it that has any merit, that can hold up to a legitimate argument. And frankly, it's appalling that people think that gay people shouldn't be married.
This is where I have a little problem as a go to church every week kind of kid. I'm all for gay couples, everything like that, adoption for gay couples, all good for that. But I was born to believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. So for me, the issue of gay marriage is one that I think they should legally be able to have the same rights as a married couple, but for them to actually be able to get married, say like in a church or something like that, I have a personal issue with.
A lot of states are going towards it. I don't know why the other ones just don't hop on the bandwagon. It's going to happen eventually in all the states, but just how long it's going to take and how much controversy and hatred is going to go about that. I mean, people should just get over themselves and let it be.
A lot of my friends have struggled with coming out, and this is going to get me emotional. And I think that's absolutely terrible, because I don't have to go up to my parents and be like, hey Mom and Dad, like I'm straight.
I'm all for the future and all for a brighter future in terms of this, and I'm all for the kids who are scared to tell their moms and dads, hey, I like this gender, which happens to be my gender, or hey, I'm not comfortable in my body and I feel like I should have been born something else. Like, that should never be something that gets you, you know, exiled from your home or from your friends or from your community. That should be something that's like, high five, bro, that's awesome.
What is your main news source? The lack thereof?
Bloomberg, spend a lot of time on. I'm a huge sports guy, so ESPN, I read CNN every day.
I like changed my homepage from like, I don't know, Yahoo to like NPR, so now I like see the top stories, like that girl who got cured of AIDS.
Probably my newsfeed on Facebook is my main news source, which is really embarrassing.
Frankly, it's a lot of, you see stuff on Twitter, you see stuff on Facebook, and you follow up on it. You see people talking about something, and you say, wow, like, I want to know what's going on with that, and then you read about it.
I'm like the worst person to ask this question because I like refuse to watch the news because it's so depressing. I'm like one of those people like I turn on the news and I always like turn on the news when they're like, so 7 children died today in a bus accident, and I'm like, so turning off the news because I don't want to hear more.
To be honest, I kind of gave up on the news a while back because there's just so much bias.
The fact that you can look at the 3 major news sources in the United States and point to a political viewpoint, that means that the news that they put forth to the public is not a public service. What they're doing is they're presenting their own ideas.
I've tried my hardest to just look at all articles and multiple articles and versions of events I see, just to see what's said and just to come up with my own picture. But I don't really stick to one news source because it's just always tilted in one direction.
MSNBC is to the left, CNN tends to be more middle, and Fox is to the right. Just the fact that you can say that is, I don't think is good.
And so in order to get through all that filth of biasness, you kind of have to look at every source, then come up with what the true facts of the events were. It's kind of sad. I don't like that you have to do that now, but I guess I really don't have a main news source. I have to figure it out on my own.
Should I just say it? I just like love, and I want everybody to love, and I have this theory that like if everybody loved each other and everybody was nice to each other, we'd have absolutely no problems in the world. And it baffles me why people can't just do that.
Great.